Hey, welcome to another episode of What Does Bokey Mean to You? Sanford, a small city with a big heart. Today's episode features Captain Latisha Howard of She Was Me Incorporated. Listen, this Bokey girl is going to share her story about living life in good old Sanford. You don't want to miss this episode. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of What Does Bokey Mean to You? Sanford, a small city with a big heart. I'm so excited today to have my special guest, Mrs. Latisha Howard. She is here to talk about her experiences in life living in good old Bokey, Sanford. And so I'm so happy she's here with me today. I want to read her bio to you. But before I do that, I want to ask you, would you mind subscribing to this page, liking, sharing, and commenting? I'm so thankful that you're watching today. And listen, we want to hear from you. So, Latisha Howard is a native of Sanford, Florida, and married to Edward Howard Jr. She is a loving mother of three and proud grandmother of three. She attended the public schools of Seminole County, Florida, and graduated from Seminole High School in 1992. She has nearly 30 years' experience in law enforcement, with nearly 20 of those years in a leadership position. She is employed with Seminole County Sheriff's Office as a captain assigned to the John E Polk Correctional Facility. Latisha earned her bachelor's degree in general studies and her master's degree in leadership. She has a passion for speaking and inspiring young women in her community. Her passion comes from being a teenage single mother. She knows firsthand the importance of having positive role models in her life. In 2020, she started her own nonprofit organization, She Was Me Incorporated. Her vision for the organization is to be a beacon of hope to young women who are currently experiencing the same things she experienced in her past. The motto of her organization can be defined in 3 words: never give up. Latisha is a recent published author with the release of her debut book, Roar, Rising Over Adversity Resiliently. In it, she shares her powerful journey of overcoming the challenges of being a teenage mother and rising to become an award-winning leader in law enforcement. Her story is one of resilience, determination, and triumph. In her spare time, she likes spending time with her family and friends. Everybody, welcome with me, Mrs. Latisha Howard. So listen, Latisha, thank you so much for recording 2 podcast episodes with me.
Thank you.
This is a new podcast. I have had people stopping me on the street because I do walk around with a Bokey shirt on as much as I can in my neighborhood. And I wanted to start this podcast for people who live in my community. I've fallen in love with Sanford, and I've been meeting people, and they've been sharing their stories. And I mean, so excited to share their stories. And one thing about you that I love is not only are you from Sanford, you work in your community, you give back to your community. And so my question to you is, what does Bokey mean to you?
So Bokey means to me roots. So it's where my foundation began. Yes. It's where my family is located. It's where most of all the people that I love live. So it's my roots. It's my foundation.
So why do people choose to stay in Bokey or go away and come back to this city? What is it about this little city that people love so much that they it's like a stick it to your city, like you're just never going to leave it?
I think the resilience of the city is so attracting, and it always lures you back in. And I think too, you have generations upon generations of family members from this town. Yes. So I think a lot of people come back because it is home to them.
Yeah. So you grew up with your mom, your grandmother, and so were they from Sanford?
So my mom and grandmother were originally from Georgia, but my mom, they moved here when my mom was 5 years old. So she spent the majority of her life in Sanford.
And then you were born here?
Yes.
Children born here?
Born and raised.
Went to school here?
Yes, Seminole High School. Class of 92.
Yes. And you know, I love it because, you know, the city has taken on the identity of Bokey.
Yes.
So when you hear the word Bokey, not only is it roots, but, you know, I ask people, do you even know where the name Bokey came from?
Well, I've heard several stories, but the one that I choose to believe is that it came from migrant workers, you know, family members who would leave Florida and go to New York and then travel back for work. And they got that name Bokey through migration. And I think originally it was meant for something negative probably, but our resilience has turned it around to be a powerful statement and an ownership of you owning where you're from. We Bokey. That's what,
So how many generations of your family is still alive here in Sanford?
So right now it's just my mom. My grandmother recently passed away, so it's my mom, myself, and my children. However, on my dad's side, which are Wins, we have a huge family. I believe it's probably 4 generations of Wins here. Yeah.
Okay, so you got your mom, you have your daughter, and then you have your grandchildren.
Yes.
So you have 4 generations on your side alone.
Yeah.
And so I'm sure that because I did some research, and I would come across families in Sanford, and I would ask each generation what it meant. So what do you think your mother would say?
I think my mom would have a difference of opinion, probably, because she grew up in a time that was different.
Yes.
So she loves her city, but I don't know if she would see it in the same light that I see it.
Yeah.
But she does love being from Sanford. She's never really traveled anywhere outside of Sanford, except for when she visits her hometown. But I think her take on it may be a little differently from mine, but she does love the city.
I mean, so growing up here and just hearing your mom tell her story, we shared about you. We'll talk about her book in just a little bit, about her book Roar. Your mom being a young mom, and then you being a young mom. So not that you guys had to grow up together, but how much of the history could she share with you as a young person? And you not some of the negative things maybe, and even positive, you taking that on.
So she did share a lot, which I think the most part of it she shared was the community that she had.
Got it.
So that community foundation and the stories where my grandmother worked, the neighbors would babysit them. So it was the same type of foundation that I grew up with, but instead of neighbors, I had my family.
Yeah.
So that part of it she shared, and it kind of like, this is a great place to be in. So I think most of the negative stuff she probably has not really shared. Sometimes they just don't want to talk about stuff like that.
Exactly. Yeah, because I think that back then a lot of people, like our grandparents and them, they kept a lot of secrets.
Yes.
Not because they wanted to, but maybe just because it was like just as a protection for us. And so, so you staying here, and your daughter, what do you think your daughter would say about Bokey? Because she was in high school. Did she go to Seminole High School?
She went to Seminole High School. She graduated from Seminole High School. Then she went off to FAMU. But again, she came back home to her roots. Yeah.
Back home to her roots.
Yes.
And so, because I used to ask like the mother, the grandmother, and the daughter, and each one of them had a difference of opinion when it came to what does Bokey mean to them.
Yeah.
And so you had your sons, you had your children, you had your husband. What do they think about our city?
Well, my oldest son, he loves the city. My husband loves the city. My baby boy, he graduated high school, went off to college, and has not came back to the city.
Yes.
So he does come home to visit. However, he may have a different opinion of the city than what we do. Or he may think it's smaller than. And he's grown so much that he wants to, be in a bigger environment, because Sanford is a small hometown. So that may be the reason as well.
I feel like, when I look at Sanford in a whole, it's expanse, compared to a lot of the other cities like a Longwood and a Lake Mary. I'm not downing these little counties, but I think our city's kind of big.
Yeah, we've grown. We've grown tremendously.
So speaking about growing, so what is some of the biggest things that you've seen happen growing up here at East Park? Okay, so what side of town did you grow up on? Let's talk about that.
I grew up in Goldsboro.
Okay, yes. Historic Goldsboro.
Goldsboro.
Beautiful little town. It's like, to me, Goldsboro has growth, but yet it's still set in time.
Yes.
When you drive through there.
Yes.
Why do we think it still has that feeling?
I think because, again, you still have generations that live in the area of Goldsboro. So you still have that quaint, that togetherness, that family piece of it in Goldsboro. I think that's why it hasn't changed as much.
Yeah.
And then they're so protective of that section of the city.
It is such a vibrant little town, because when I drive through Goldsboro, that one strip, can I tell you the energy that it's like a little Vegas. Like, you see people hanging out, nobody's, out there doing anything crazy, but there's people outdoors. It reminds me of growing up in New York, where, you can go outside and sit in your steps all night. Everybody knows everybody, everything's right there.
Yeah.
But yet that little town has, you have the police and fire department.
Yes.
I see so much growth coming over there now. You have it's a new school over there that they've opened up.
Yes.
Like a preschool.
Yep.
Crooms Academy, historic school.
Yes.
I mean, what did you grow up hearing about that?
So growing up, Crooms was different. When I grew up, Crooms was the school that pregnant teenagers went to.
Wow.
So to see the trajectory of the school, and now it's a magnet school where you have to be on a waiting list to even get into the school. It's so amazing. It just shows you, again, the resilience of Sanford, where it once was. And I know back in the 50s and the 60s, it was for African American children only. But then in the 80s and the 90s, especially the 90s, when I went through high school, it was for pregnant females or, children that had, behavior problems. And to see it transition to what it is now, it's amazing.
Well, another thing that I love about that little area there is you have a city commissioner who is African American. You have a female force, Dr. Velma Williams, from what I understand, a great community leader. These are people that you probably saw growing up.
Yes.
So what did that do for you?
So to have somebody like Dr. Velma Williams to be a mentor to so many of us, she showed you that growing up, sometimes I know in my home and in our community, women were supposed to be seen and not heard, right? The man was the authority of the house.
Yes.
But when you see women like Dr. Velma Williams with a voice,
yes,
having being part of making decisions in the city, that really does something to you. It really motivates you to say, I always say, if she can do it, I can too.
Yes.
So seeing women like her, Dr. Kirby Bentley, and so many other women, my mom, like she's not a political person, but she's my person. So seeing women like that who inspire you and motivate you, to continue going on.
I mean, that's huge to have in this little town of Sanford, because a lot of even bigger cities you go to, you don't get that.
Yeah.
And you all had it right here in good old Goldsboro.
Yes.
So what made you want to continue to stay here and work in your area and in your community? Because these are people that you see outside and inside.
Yeah.
And the one thing I forgot to mention on the last podcast episode was there's a lot of women that serve in your department.
Yes.
A lot of women. When I was out during the Martin Luther King Day parade in Goldsboro, I saw so many female officers walking the street from the department, and they were happy to be out there in their community, where they're from, Bokey. How do you guys get women to come? Do you guys, what's the word I'm saying? Trying to get people to come and employ them, not just, males, but females as well.
Yeah, I think they're attracted by our diversity within our agency. And again, our agency has always been an agency that they allow us and they love to see us go out in the community and help in the community. And when you see people in your community doing the work, I remember before I even started working this field, I remember seeing people who lived in my community that worked for the agency. Yeah. And it seems like it appeared that they were real financially stable. Yeah. And that they were homeowners, and you're like, hey, one day I want to aspire to be that. So I think just seeing us in the community makes them want to come join an agency like ours.
Yeah. And you also, family's a huge thing for you, but your church is right in Goldsboro.
Yes.
So let's talk about Calvary. I've been to visit, but I was there to visit for a funeral. But everybody who I ask about a church in Sanford, like, what church you go to? I'm thinking like going to church in Sanford. Calvary, that always comes up.
Yes.
So, I feel like you guys are a serving group.
Yes.
That same feeling of home and roots and all of that. And so let's talk about your church.
So my church home is amazing. Calvary Temple of Praise.
She's not biased, guys.
I am not, but I am. Pastor Chandrick McGregor is our pastor, and Pastor Paul P. Wright is our overseer. And again, it's a church that's in the community for the community. So they do a lot for the community, and also just being a part of somewhere where you feel like your spirituality is intact. Yeah. Like sometimes when I go to church, I'm like, ouch, just stepping on my toes, because the word that's coming from the pulpit is directed at me. And sometimes it gives you, like, you can be down or whatever, and it gives you the motivation to keep going. I hate to talk about specifics, but today in church, Pastor McGregor talked about how even God used a donkey. And he talked about how even if you made mistakes in life, God can still use you. When you come up under a word like that, you can make mistakes. Yeah. but God can still use me. So Calvary Temple of Praise, if you have not visited our church, please go next Sunday.
Yes.
Make sure you tell them that I sent you.
So, growing up in Bokey, the infrastructure and the diversity that you're seeing, and you all being welcome to people like me, an outsider. Because coming to Sanford, some people can feel like outsiders and some people can feel very welcome. What do you think about the city and the people who live here and being open to diversity and people coming in and, and loving the city just as much as you all do?
I think we've learned that, I know sometimes people get so overprotective, like you're not originally from Sanford, but I think over the years we've learned that you're from New York, right?
Yeah.
So when you go back home, you're telling people about all the amazing things that we're doing in Sanford.
Yeah.
Sometimes if you keep that so closed up, people don't know what they have here.
Yeah.
So I think we've come to figure out that, we can share.
Yeah.
We're still homegrown, but there's nothing wrong with someone coming in and planting their roots in our soil and blossoming as well.
I tell you, I've only been here for a few years on this side of Sanford, and just the growth that I've seen and the people that I've met, and I'm meeting more people that are moving here.
Yeah.
And you can go downtown Sanford any night of the week and it's packed. It's like it's become a tourist attraction. Above Orlando, people coming here into this little area and feeling safe and hanging out. I was just downtown today, and just to see all the artists out there, all the food trucks and all the fun going on, does it become too much for locals, do you think?
It does not become too much for me because I don't live down there.
Yeah, exactly.
But I'm sure for those individuals who live on that side of town, it may become much. But then that's what you want. You want that type of growth to bring money back into the community so that we can continue to grow. So I believe that it's a much needed thing in Sanford.
Yeah, because it's unbelievable what I'm seeing. All the new apartments and restaurants and businesses, a lot of businesses are coming to our area. So I absolutely love that. So She Was Me. So you're a nonprofit organization. Let's talk about that because you all are serving the women in Bokey.
Yes.
So these are women, maybe some of let me just say this. When I came to your event, the Vision Board event, there was a 90-year-old woman there.
Yes, Miss Ross.
Having an amazing time.
Yes.
Being loved on and loving on others. She was smart as a whip. If you're watching, ma'am, she talked about my outfit. I had a little jumpsuit. She said, that's a snake print. And I thought that was so cute. But I love to see all the generations coming together. So the roots that you talk about is generations.
Yes.
Still coming together. You all are not like, okay, it's just for us ladies our age, but I saw young girls there.
Yes.
Older women, in between, people that you work with. How do you feel about that with your organization, touching all those lives?
I think in an environment like that, you learn so much. Like we talk about Ms. Ross, we can learn so much from someone with so much wisdom. Yes. And she was an educator in Seminole County for years. So you have women her age, and then you have women 20 years younger, then you have women my age, and then you have the 20-year-olds and the teenagers. Yeah. So it's so much diversity and age in that group where we can learn from each other. Mm-hmm. Like I talk about social media. I'm good with Facebook, but not with Instagram. But there's a young lady in there that can teach me social media. With Mother Ross, there's things that she can teach us as women that, we've never experienced. So I think having that big age group in there, it's amazing. So we're not just focused on one sector, we're hitting everybody.
Yeah, because your organization is to support young women, but you had women who were there to support those young women as well, and then yet you're supporting them too.
Yes.
So you're not leaving them out.
Yep. And when I initially started the organization, my focus was on teen mothers or young mothers, but it's so much more. She Was Me can mean, you may have been a teenage mom or a young mother, but you can also have been in an abusive relationship or a divorcee. So we try to touch bases with everything. Like we try to have something for everybody who's ever experienced any type of diversity, any type of obstacles, any type of challenges. We try to be there for them.
Yeah. So you went to school in this area, in this community. Who's one of your school teachers that you can remember that inspired you?
So Seminole High School class of 92, we had our home economics teacher, Miss Patterson.
Okay.
She was amazing. Well, of course, it's homemade, so she's teaching you how to cook and she's teaching you how to sew, but you got so much more than that when you went to her class. It was almost like she was an auntie.
Wow.
Right, and you didn't want to do anything at that school to disappoint Miss Patterson. So Miss Patterson would be one that I would remember. Yeah.
Well, you have friends that grew up here who don't live here anymore. I'm shouting them out right now. Xavier and Rhea. Had no idea that Xavier lived in Sanford.
Yes.
She's from here. And I am a columnist for the Sanford Herald, and I end my article every month with all roads lead to Sanford, because that's what I've heard through the police department. That's where I got that term from. So shout out to the police department here in Sanford, because so many people come to Sanford, be it through something bad, something good. What do you think about all roads leading to Sanford?
Well, we go back, when I asked me what Sanford meant to me. Yeah. So you go back to that roots.
Yeah.
So all roads lead back to that root, that foundation. So that's what I feel like it's what Sanford is.
Yeah. And so migrant workers, that was a big part of this community at one time. That was probably the start of that term, Bokey. Was your parents or anybody in your family were they migrant workers?
My grandmother was a migrant
worker. Got it.
Yes.
Okay. Because I heard Sanford looked so different back then. Yeah. Midway, the women working out in the field. What did she do?
My grandmother they had the celery fields back when she was working in the field, so celery.
So mostly celery. Wow. Yeah. And so now to look at your mom, not sure what she went on to do, to look at you, what you're doing, and to look at your daughter and what she's doing.
Yeah.
Huge difference.
Yeah. So in our family, it has always been instilled in us that each generation has to do better than the next, than the one before. So my mom did better than my grandmother. I did better than my mom. Now my daughter has to do better than me, and her daughter has to do better than her. So when you think that way, it pushes you to make sure that you provide all the tools necessary for them to succeed, so they can be better than I am. Yeah.
Wow. The term Bokey, because a lot of people, I love how Commissioner Sheena, she broke it down in her episode, but you can drive around Sanford and see Bokey on everything now.
Yes.
Right? You can see it in every culture. What do you think about that term going across culture now? It's not just an African American thing. You see every culture wearing something Bokey or talking about the roots and what that means. What does that do for you?
So again, it's very empowering that we saw a word that was meant to probably be negative to be a word that's endearment, a word of family, a word of connection. It's like, where are you from, Bokey? We don't even say Sanford anymore. We don't even say I'm from Bokey. So I don't have an issue with the word being used across different sectors of the community.
Yeah, I love it. And Seminole High School, where Latisha graduated from, it's on their gear.
Yes.
It's on the school rings. It's on T-shirts. It's on sweatshirts. It's on hats. It's in our hearts.
Yes.
And so there's so much more to learn about this, because everybody that I talk to, it's going to be so many amazing stories coming out of Bokey. So if somebody's watching today and you want to be a guest on the show, please reach out to me, because I want to hear your stories. I have a lot of people recommending people to be on the show.
That's amazing.
Because they want, because the history of it, right? Yeah. So I'm sure that there's so many people that everybody's story is so different. Just doing research on it, and just a shout out to my run, the head of my run group, Samaya Dixon. She was the one that's how I knew about the term.
Okay.
And I started researching it. And I said, okay, that's cool. And so shout out to the Bokey Beauties. We had our 1-year anniversary last week, downtown Sanford, and all the groups from around Orlando came.
And I missed it. I had
so much fun.
I had a prayer breakfast, but I was watching y'all on social media. Yes. I was like, wow.
And thank you so much to Commissioner Sheena Britton for coming out and, giving us the whole kickoff and hanging out with us ladies. We're so happy. And I just can't wait to see what else you're going to be doing in Bokey. What are some of your plans coming up with She Was Me?
So in September, we're celebrating our 5th anniversary, where we're going to be acknowledging members of our community, members who have helped She Was Me within the last 5 years, and also collaborating with other organizations. And then, of course, during the holiday times, we'll be giving back to the community.
Nice. So let's talk about this book, Roar.
Yes.
I mean, so now your people in your community is going to be seeing this.
Yes.
All right. So
Yes.
let's talk about this book, because they know you.
Yes.
The funny thing about you growing up, living here and working in our community is people know you, but they may not know the new you.
Yeah.
Right. So, because I mean, it's not. What was your nickname in high school?
So my nickname in high school.
You look like you had a nickname.
I did. Yeah. It was Red.
Really?
Because of my complexion.
Oh my God.
So that was my nickname in high school.
Wow. So they still call you Red?
They do. Some people still call me Red. I used to get aggravated by it, but now I just continue to own it. But yeah, they still call me.
That's that Bokey thing.
Yeah.
That's it. So you just taking it on.
Yeah.
So let's talk about Rising Over Adversity and Resiliently. Roar, her book. So where can everybody find it?
You can find it on my website at LatishaHoward.com, and you can also find it on Amazon, or if you see me in the community, I'll always have a couple of copies on.
Mm-hmm. Now, she is a busy person, folks, so listen, look out for her, though. You just had your book release. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
If you all who are, subscribers to the Sanford Herald, look at the most recent article about her in her book release. How did it feel releasing your book in the community that you love so much?
I feel like, why not give back to the community that I was, that I grew up in, where the soil that I was planted in? Why not let them see me blossom?
Yeah.
Right? Why not let them see a story of success? Like, I'm not a millionaire or anything like that, but just to see someone from your community overcome obstacles and have a successful career, sometimes that's something we don't see that often. So why not stay in the community that has helped me with my foundation, and they can see me roar.
I love that.
Yeah.
So now, coming up, you said you have some events September. You mentioned to me about another event in May, possibly you're going to be doing, right?
So
right here in our area.
That's going to be in September also.
Okay, yes.
I'll be speaking at an event, Santora, Washington. I believe the organization is called You Are a Pearl. She's doing an event in September, and I'll be the keynote speaker for that event.
Okay, so we got to show up for her. And listen, for any of you who are looking for a speaker for your event, please reach out to her. She would love to come out and share her life with you, share with the young women, older women, all of you. And listen, she loves her city, good old Bokey. So until next time, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and comment. And if you do want to be a guest on this show and speak about your history and your family here on What Does Bokey Mean to You, I would love to hear from you. So until next time, we'll see you soon.
And thanks for having me.
Thank you. Thank you for being on the air with me. Hey, did you enjoy Captain Latisha Howard of Bokey? Listen, check her out on her many platforms and buy that book. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Please support the channel. I ask that you like, share, subscribe, and comment. Until next time.